Yes.
All right, we ready? Call this meeting to order. And first thing is to review and approve the minutes from February 8th, 2022.
I move that they be accepted as written.
And I'll second it.
We're gonna bring Dwight in? Oh, he's probably not gonna.
Yeah, it's probably
He's not gonna be with us.
And review and approve February 22nd, 2022 warrant.
Move it to be approved.
I'll second it.
As Deb was saying, without, the regular road crew, we've been using, James Day.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, they really.
Very good. So any problem you come up with, he'll fix. And, but they've done a lot of work needed on the trucks.
Yeah. Well, I'm good. I'm glad we got somebody that we can
Yeah.
rely on, and I mean, it is good.
I think everything is just about up to snuff now, though.
Good.
And, 3 of the trucks didn't have stickers on them.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's one that still needs to go over to get inspected, but everything's been fixed on it.
Okay.
Just little details, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't drive into Portland.
Yeah.
You'll get an accident too. you
Well,
know?
I mean, you can't see that sticker in a snowstorm anyway, right?
All right, pay rate for full-time employees.
Did you see the email that I, received back from, Raymond?
No.
You might, maybe again look at it, this evening. So we've got, we're trying to find somebody to be a road commissioner. And, I sent you that spreadsheet.
Yep.
That talked about the impact of increasing pay rates on the road budget for both winter and summer roads.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I don't think it's definitive, but, I use the number for the full-time helpers, if you wanna call them that, full-time drivers. If we put a pay rate of 26 in there, I think, Tony was making what, 22 or 20?
He wasn't making that much, I know that.
Yeah.
Like 20, I think it was.
And, it would, increase the, summer roads a little bit. The winter roads, not too much, because we've traditionally over-budgeted the summer road, or winter roads.
Winter roads, yeah.
But it looked like with the combined two of them would be about $15,000 additional. So, I don't know. No, we've got George, I guess who might get us through the plowing season, but he's talking very seriously about being done before summer. Steve Thorne, who's been a great help.
Yeah.
He originally said, March 8th, but I think he might be another week or two with us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said, looked like Shaw Brothers are gonna start up as soon as he thought. After that, both of those will be gone. And right now we've got, Chris Harrington.
Mm-hmm.
You know him?
I know of them.
Yeah. I guess, a full-time farmer right now, so.
So if the same with the snow melt, we'll be losing him.
I don't know if we'll be losing Chris or not. My opinion is he's starting to like some regular pay.
Because he knows to do it, yes.
That's conducive.
And, you know, we're paying him $28 an hour, so they're doing all right. And we've been using them quite a bit, since the nor'easter, so.
Yeah.
And we've got another one this week.
Yeah.
So we've been lucky to keep the snow plowed.
Yeah.
And get things fixed.
Now, I heard that Jeff Doyle had to turn down the road commissioner's job, because of the insurance.
Yes. And I believe that is what, bad with names, here. This Raymond McIntyre, who, looks pretty good on paper. He doesn't have any experience as a road commissioner, but he's a heavy equipment operator. He's had a lot of military experience supervising large convoys and stuff, you know.
Is that the one that works for Cliff?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, looks like a solid guy to me. I've talked to him a couple times on the phone, including this morning. So that email that I sent him was a complete spread, kind of a spread out of where all the hours are and what it would come up to is in touch with, you know, total annual salary, what it looked like, and then what the insurance costs. And again, he hesitates on the insurance.
Because of the family portion of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. My thought was to increase our portion of like we pay 80% of the single, so we do that same thing with the family. Now that'll
It might make the difference, I don't know. That's expensive.
Yeah.
But you know, because you gotta have people, right?
Right.
And we gotta compete with everybody else out there, but I did a number.
Yeah.
I did a number here that says the family portion is $1,350 a month.
Mm-hmm. That's really not that bad.
Well, that's on top of, the part that we subsidize. So, we subsidize, so that the single person is $1,086.21 a month, and we subsidize 80% of that.
Yeah.
Gets it down to $220 something or something like that. $217 a month. To go to a full family, it's $2,436 a month. So if you subtract out the single person one, it's another $1,350 a month. And if we were to subsidize 80% of that, oh, I got it right here. What would it get it down to for the rate for the employee? That's what I didn't calculate.
Bob, is that just medical or is that dental and eye care?
It's just medical.
Yeah.
And then, dental's on top of that. And there is a dental plan, but we don't provide it at all. And I guess let me do this calculation first. So I'm gonna say,
You're looking up, Clive, which one? Which one?
the one that gives dental.
I need it, that's big.
$270 a month that they would pay. Which would bring it up to, what was it, $487 or something like that.
Per month? So it'd be two something pay period?
So, excuse me, so $487 a month for family coverage?
For family coverage, if the town voted to, pay 80% of the
Family coverage.
family coverage. And, you know, just, come on, stop it. Look at it.
And is that with a policy that's comparable to what we have now?
It's the policy that we have now.
It is, okay.
This is the current rates, so let's say 2436 times 0.2, 487, yeah. But that requires a vote for the town to do that.
Right.
And it requires that's via modification of the personnel policy ordinance. So it's not something we can just do.
Right, yeah.
But it's,
Something we should be thinking about anyway.
well, we should be. I've drafted an amendment to the personnel policy because of some other things that we ran into. But it's something to think about.
Right.
When you get home, you can read that this is the email from, Raymond McIntyre. And,
I thought you meant the town of Raymond. You said Raymond, I thought you meant the town of Raymond.
No, it pretty much says that, there's two things that he would like to see, is he'd like to get the hourly rate up closer to 28 instead of 26.5. And the insurance, because he's doing much better where he is, he would take a little bit less on some of those things because he's a long commute and stuff.
Oh, yeah, oh, is that the one from?
He worked for HP Hood.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and he says he does a lot of driving, burns up a lot of gas in the commute. In his pickup truck.
Yeah.
And, you know, we don't have to decide today, but we need to think very hard about it. I'm not sure if we're gonna resolve getting employees for the road crew without some kind of a change. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
I mean, at my work, we've been trying to get people in there for the last couple of years. And it's hard. Things are hard right now.
Yeah.
Getting people, you really gotta entice them with, come to work,
The other thing I want to tell you is that, so if we change any of those things, maybe then, Jeff Doyle would be interested.
That's what I was thinking too. And he sounded like, I think he'd do pretty good as a road.
You know,
When he said he'd do like a 5-year plan on the roads, you sat right up like this and what?
Well, somebody says planning.
We got your attention.
What's the other thing is, Chris Harrington, who's currently on the crew, he doesn't have road commissioner experience, but he has worked for the road commissioner in, Sebago. I think he's interested in it.
Oh, really?
In the road commissioner position.
Oh.
And I don't know, he might do it at the rates that we currently have. Because like I said, he's a farmer right now, he's milking cows and,
Yeah. I know he is.
yeah. So anyway, something to think about.
Yeah, something we need to.
But within 2 or 3 weeks, we're probably gonna be George Davis,
Yeah.
and maybe Chris Harrington.
Hopefully we don't get much more snow this year.
Yeah, like I said, we always get one in early May. All right. I guess that's all I had to offer.
Okay. Appeals board members, I see you got some pretty good candidates there, huh?
So I think we've got enough to fill out an appeals board.
Yeah.
Did you guys get a hold of Dan?
I didn't have a good working number, but Kathy and I spoke a couple of times. Were you able to shoot him a text?
I did.
Okay.
He was still seeing clients. He's busy in through the evening, but, he saw the email, he will get back to you. He did not tell me which way he was going with it, but I can also give you his phone number. He said it's okay.
Oh, good,
So I'll do
thank
that
you,
after the
I
meeting.
appreciate that.
So, I've scarfed up some, appeals board membership to fill out a board. We don't need Dan to make it work, but it would be good in case we need to get a quorum.
Yeah.
Which is 3.
Yeah.
So Gary McNeil, Keith Stackhouse,
Yeah.
and Owen.
Yeah.
So I guess the first thing we need to do is vote to appoint them.
I make a motion, you wanna do individually, or do all three of them at once?
All 3 of them at once.
All three at once, okay. I'll make a motion, we appoint, Gary McNeil, Keith Stackhouse, and Owen Thomas as appeals board, members of the appeals board.
I second that.
Yeah.
So I'll sign it right here. Check the ordinance and it says 5-year terms. We're going to expire on the same day in 5 years.
Oh, great. Here we go again.
You don't need the appeals board, but once it's blue moon,
You know, in a lot of towns, that's the most powerful board in town,
could be.
because as soon as they get through the planning board, and they don't like what they're doing, they go to the appeals board. And
Yeah.
the appeals board settles everything.
Yeah.
But I don't think ours has met since, early on in the Naked Wilderness process.
Right, no, it hasn't, because Maine isn't quite so cantankerous as some other places.
All right. Town report and budget.
I've been working on the town report. You seen the draft?
Yeah, yeah.
I think you're sending out notices, or Danielle did, to all the agencies that need to send in requests.
She has quite a few back already.
Oh, she does. I think we've discussed a little bit who gets, who we honor in the front with a little story about them.
Yeah.
Dedication.
Dedication, yeah.
The budget stuff, we're gonna have to start meeting, I think, periodically to go over numbers pretty soon.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be ready by about the 7th of April to go to the printer.
Okay.
4 or 5 weeks ago. But there's a whole host of things that are, I think, need to be sorted out. One of them is the capital investment plan kind of went dormant for a while.
Mhm.
And I think we need to get it back in business because folks, the road crew tell me that the Sterling truck is not gonna be inspectable again.
Yeah.
And they say you need those 3 big trucks.
Yeah.
When you get a big storm. The reason we had the 2 small 4550s was so that Tony would drive those, because he wouldn't drive the big truck.
Yeah, good, yeah. You have a class B,
Yeah.
CDL.
So, what they're telling me is, we're gonna need to put in the budget here for another big truck.
Yeah.
And, so I've put some numbers in the capital investment plan to do that. I don't know what the lease would be, but I think I put a number of like $37,000 a year.
So the
About 30% more than what we paid on the current one.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can take a look at it and see, but,
So you think a lease is a good way to go again?
yeah,
I think so.
I think Brian was probably right, that, you know, these trucks are getting more complicated all the time. I looked in the day, it's like a cockpit in there. It looks like a truck to me.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like 2 or 3 sticks over here, you know. But the biggest problem are the, is when the emissions control thing, the DEP system goes bad.
Oh, yes.
And I think that's all covered under warranty when you buy or when you take the lease. Whereas if you buy it, you get a 1-year warranty, and then it's up to you to.
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing is, I didn't realize it, but when we leased the truck, we leased everything. The truck, the hopper on the back, you know, all the plow, the wings.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not one complete package, it's.
So one complete, go plow, rip, and right out the door.
Huh.
And, you know, after 5 years, they start to rust.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly if they don't get washed regularly and stuff. So you can look at, the 550s, which I think are, let me buy those in 2015, 16.
Yeah, like that, yeah. Yeah.
Those are 7 years old now.
Yeah.
They're pretty bad. I went over and pulled a huge piece of rust off the frame of one of them. It just flaked off.
It's all tied on it, yeah.
Yeah, plowing's hard on.
Yeah.
Okay.
The road commissioner search status, we just talked about that.
Yeah. TIF.
Okay.
Should make copies for you. I will after the meeting. So I was contacted by Glendale again, wanting to come, did I send you a copy of that?
Yes, you did, yeah, from this truck, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a difficult thing to follow, because things keep shifting. You know, I look at this, what she's provided this time, and she's given us 3 options to think about, I guess, for TIFs. And the numbers there just go, I don't know, it's totally out of whack with what they provided before.
Better or worse? Surprise, surprise.
Going down.
I mean, you look at some of these, I don't know that I have it here, you know, they've given us a number of presentations on TIFs, but one showed, I can probably show you right here. Here's one that showed, this is, the green is no TIF, what our revenues would be.
Yeah.
So, this is the TIF, where they were talking about taking 24% of the revenues returned to them. That's the credit enhancement portion of it. And this is our projected revenues that this town would receive annually. Look, you get out here, it's less than 40,000, right?
Yeah.
A year. So in her latest proposal,
Yeah.
in your latest proposal, it says 30-year TIF, and the reimbursement to the developer would be the greater of $50,000 per year, or $3,500 per megawatt of nameplate capacity. Well, we'd be paying them. $10,000 a year. You know, there's, if we do anything with them, we need to, nail things down a little better, I think. But I don't think we should just say no, because I think there's a chance to come out ahead if we do it right. And I think originally I was against TIF just categorically, because it didn't seem that there was any way to spend the money. But there are projects that we can fund, and I've highlighted them. This one is costs associated with child care facilities and adult care facilities, including finance costs and construction, staffing, training, certification, accreditation, whatnot. We could use money to fix the back end of that
For the after-school
program area.
Yeah.
It needs to be done. I mean, we're looking at, doing some work there to mold remediation.
Yeah.
There's some roof work that needs to be done on all sides. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there.
Would that include this end too?
You could probably do some work on this end because it's all tied together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if this is what we really want to do, but the funding to establish permanent economic development revolving funds. So you could have a fund here that would be set up to lend people money to start a business, I guess.
Do we want to do that?
Environmental improvement projects developed by the municipality for commercial or arts district use related to such activities. I don't know if the old garage is within is that within a commercial district? You know where the old garage is on the other end of town?
On 113?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a village commercial district.
Maybe we should make it one.
Must be right on the edge of it if it isn't.
Because the reason it still sits there is because it's probably got environmental cleanup issues.
Yeah, they used to dump the oil on the ground.
And at some point, we're gonna have to do something with it, I'm sure. We can do recreational trails, I'm not a big fan of those, but, broadband services.
Yeah, that's a big one, yeah.
Which is on everybody's radar right now.
Yeah. Does that have to broadband, does that have to be within that zone, or can it be the whole town?
No, these are things outside the TIF district.
Okay, right.
Public safety, and I don't know exactly how we would state it, but it says costs related to the construction or operation of municipal public safety facilities, the need for which is related to general economic development within a municipality, not to exceed 15% of the captured asset value of the district. I think we could say that, we need a fire department, a modern fire department, to better protect current and future businesses.
I think with the way the town's been growing for the last couple of years too. I mean,
you could propose it, and I
development.
think if you're just bold enough with what you say.
Yeah.
Bob, why wouldn't that necessarily maybe apply to having the community building or the community room be a emergency shelter? Because we were looking at a generator that would do the job for that.
Yeah, you got written down there, generator.
They're restricted.
Yeah, you're right.
But, it says 15% of the captured asset value. I just used their latest value, which was 14 million. Oh, I'm sorry. What was the number that I used? Anyway, I used it off from one of their presentations, and that's $2.1 million that you could spend. Not that we'd get that much revenue, but there's not a limiting issue in here.
Yeah.
And so, they're
$1 million.
And the final caveat I'll say is, we don't need to do a credit enhancement agreement to do a TIF.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm prepared to stay away from that.
You might.
Do a TIF, though.
You know, there might be a reason to do one, I don't know, but that would be for Glenvale to justify and sell. But I think that there'd probably be a case to sell it, the TIF specifically for the town's purpose anyway.
That sounds, yeah, it sounds a lot better. Yeah.
I was talking to my brother-in-law, who's, was a superintendent of schools in Herman until, I don't know, a year ago. So he said they do TIFs for everything up there because, it shelters all of that investment.
Yeah.
And you know why they do it in towns like Portland and stuff, because they don't have increased school impact fees when they build something. They're not getting it anyway, right?
Right, yeah, yeah.
And they certainly don't wanna share it with us. So,
Yeah.
there is a case for it if you can, take advantage of it. And the other thing I would say, and I think I've said it before, is the solar farm that Joe has on his property doesn't pay any taxes.
Mm-hmm.
The town does get some taxes back from the state on it, but some of that gets clawed back when they do the school funds, because that's considered an increase in value of the town, and so we're probably gonna get, I don't know, 10, 15, maybe 20% of the taxes that actually return to the town.
You get 100% for the first 2 years.
Pardon?
You get 100% for the first 2 years.
Yeah, there's a couple, because it takes a while for the valuations to fall down.
And then it goes down third year and down fourth year, and then you've lost it by year 5.
Pretty much. You say you're down to, at best, 20% of the increase in value that the taxes are. So, it's not like these guys are, gonna be gouging us, but you say, it's really, if they can make a case to the townspeople, then I would leave that to them. But I think that we could maybe make a case to the townspeople to do a TIF for our own sake, if we can get and agree on these projects.
Yep.
That's gonna be the hard sell, is because the TIF has to be voted on by the town.
Right.
And approved.
Yeah.
And you have to have a full list of projects of what you're gonna use it for, and, so where the money's gonna go. And then there's still the question of whether they'll actually ever build the solar farm. I think the longer it goes, the less likelihood it becomes.
Is this the one up on SD's property?
Yeah.
So they're saying that if they don't get a tip, they're not gonna do it?
No, they don't say that.
Yeah, no.
But they said
Just
all
taking
along
them all
that
there.
that's what their business model is built on. But I don't see a steady request. Originally, they were looking for 25%, here they're looking for 30%. Who knows what the valuation of the solar farm is gonna be? It's gonna be difficult to wrestle it down. Anyway, I think Lisa would like to come back, Lisa Rathman would like to come back and start the process again.
Well, I'm good with that.
We can listen again. But I don't think we're really gonna be in any position to engage until after May.
Right.
But that doesn't hurt their timeline,
They're looking at next year anyway, right?
Yeah, they said that maybe they would start next year.
Yeah.
2023. Because, as you know, all these embargoes and whatnot, on Chinese stuff, can't get solar panels.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are making all the solar panels, well, most of them. and the best ones are being made there. Okay.
Right. And reminder, Thursday, February 24th, planning board meetings at 7 o'clock. Town office open Saturday, 26th. Kathy, you got anything for us?
Nope, just chugging along.
Yeah. I think
We're not doing any differently. Young gal came in Friday, said she'd worked down at, Jamaica Plains and the Brookline Library, and she was interested in the job. I asked her to come in Monday, we didn't see her. Maybe she'll come in on Friday. I don't know.
Maybe she could be road commissioner.
No, she drives a little car.
Well, maybe we can entice her with a new truck.
Jamaica Plains is north of Boston, isn't it?
Yeah. Brookline's a nice section of it though, but, you know, it would be nice because she did programs and she worked with the public and she understands books, so it'd be a real nice fit. This young gal that wants to come in, but she has no experience whatsoever. She's not quite through college, and we're like, once she graduates, does she really wanna stick around?
Right.
You know? So we're working on it. We're getting there glacially, but, yeah. But other than that, no, I think we're pretty good.
Good. Joe?
Nope.
Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
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 Don't laugh.
You can do that now.
Paul, you guys?
Yeah, a couple of things. Driving back from Pigeon Brook Road and 113, where it comes out at the middle, and that is,
Yeah.
there's no stop sign on Pigeon Brook. And at night, if you're coming down there at a pretty good rate, that looks like a bend in the road. And there's no stop sign there. So I don't know where the responsibility for that lies, but I think there should be one there.
There used to be.
Yeah,
There always has
there
been.
was.
Yeah.
Something to take a look at. I have brought this up once before, and that was the advertising sign at the end of Route 5 and 113. Big sign that's been put up down there. I've been somewhat looking into DOT regulations, and I don't believe the sign is fairly put up. I think it's ineligible for being there. And I also found that the DOT requires a permit for any sign that goes on the highway. If that has been issued to that person, then I don't know why it is what it is, because it's not, from what I can see, it doesn't fit any of the requirements of the location and the size of the signs. I would encourage, if it be our planning department or the planning board, take a look at what those DOT requirements are and see if they've been met. And if not, we should, and also I believe the state allows the town to set its own requirements as far as placement, size, and that sort of thing.
I would say that we probably don't want to get involved in enforcing state law. There's been an issue with towns that, I've heard before from previous code enforcement officers that they'll enforce town ordinance, but not state law.
Well,
And I mean, if you.
Certainly ask the state to look into it.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
That's what I would think, yeah. And I also believe that, the town has a right through their code enforcement officer to issue the permit and get the pay and receive the money that they're gonna pay for the permit.
Wow.
That's just a preliminary review of what I could read on the DOT things that are online, and it's very complicated. But right off, I can see that the sign, even though it's placed as it is, it's one sign. So you have to add those two together to come up with the requirement,
Right.
and it's way over what's required.
It's illegal, there's no question.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah. So I don't know
I
whether
don't
we
know
would.
who enforces that? Does the DOT?
I think the
enforce it?
DOT should have their own enforcement, because they said that they can request the sign to be permanently taken down, and if not, a fine of so much per day if it doesn't get taken
Why
down.
don't you call up the DOT?
I would do that if that were in my realm, and I could probably do that. I looked for a number online, the reason that I would do it is because I'm interested in doing that. The reason that the planning board, I would like to them to take a look at it so that we don't get these cases thrown in our faces and then have to go through some
Well,
procedures.
I think Joe's point though is that the planning board for the land use ordinance doesn't currently have a sign
Right.
ordinance. So it might be something to throw at them to say, we would like to have a sign ordinance and look at it, but currently it's
Be up to the DOT.
up to DOT, but it's certainly, with the realm of, if you can give me the information, what you found,
Yep,
I can make some calls.
okay,
I remember years ago, when they first came up with the billboard law,
yep.
that they made, Paul Estes take down his big sign at the end of Douglas Hill Road.
Right, yes.
And that was DOT that made him take it down. And so, it was right there by Steve's house.
The way I read it, the DOT is enforcing the sign policy.
Yeah.
That's the way I read it.
Yeah.
Today.
That's what they did then, and they made him take it down, not the.
I say, it might be that we just need to point it out to them.
Sure, yes. Like I said, if it's already been permitted, then somebody's probably looked at it. Because the way I read it, every sign has to have a permit.
It's not a permissible sign. I'd also add that as a planning board member, I would be reluctant to bring a sign ordinance to town meeting because we got shot down. We've done that, and we got shot down. And when you've been shot down, you guys know you don't bring it back. You know, everybody's dead.
Put that on the stick over the parapet.
You told you once.
We don't ask for trouble again, right?
Right.
But I will say the state does allow those signs by the side of the road with arrows as to where you can go.
Yeah,
I
those little,
mean,
yeah.
Glenn Hayes had to do that for the Chadbourne.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can ask the sign, you can ask the
Right.
state provide that sign.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Well, when we're talking about signs, what about the nature's wilderness sign?
There's that.
I don't know what that sign's size is,
It's smaller by a lot,
Doesn't matter,
but still,
doesn't
yeah.
matter.
Need that.
Anyway.
and I don't know about the sighting requirements for that wilderness sign. There's a certain, it can't be on private property unless it's the property owner that has the sign.
Oh.
And if it's on the state property, which I don't know what the state has for
That angle, I
road,
don't know.
right away off of their road, but
Right.
It's not, 113 is not a right of way, it is owned in fee by the state.
Okay.
I mean, I've got the surveys going through my land, and I've got granite markers, because back then, they weren't able to curve a laser around the corner, they went from one marker to the next marker to the next
Yeah.
marker, and they owned it in fee.
My grandfather gave up a whole chunk when they took the depot road up over the hill.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Then the surveys are in the registry of deeds, he just said, you can take it. I can't do anything with it anymore.
Right.
Well, I would, I'll get some information for you.
Yeah.
There's reams of information online.
Always.
And I tried to get a lot of it in my mind before I came tonight, but I know the size is definitely out of whack. And there's also a limitation that it has to be within 1,000 feet of the business.
Oh.
So I'm not sure where he lives.
He lives in John Moeller's house.
I believe so.
On Rocky
Yeah,
Hill.
on Rocky Hill.
That's what I've heard, I know.
Yeah.
That's close to 1,000 feet, isn't it? Or not?
The other end of Rocky Hill. But I think he owns that property.
That field?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he still has to be 1,000
Yes, he
feet
does,
within
yes, he does.
He still has to be within 1,000 feet of the
He
business.
stopped and talked to me once, because we have this agreement that I cleared the field and cut it for hay.
Yeah.
He stopped and talked to me and wanted to buy anything I wanted to sell.
Wow. That's all I had, yeah.
So 1,000 feet that's according to the billboard law, right? I know.
I put it in as a freestanding advertising sign.
Uh-huh.
And.
I know there was restrictions, where, what.
1,000 feet from the business.
Right.
It has to be within 1,000.
Well, within 1,000 feet, okay, I know there's some kind of.
And I presume everything is run out of his house, or is there a business, is there a?
Yeah, but he doesn't, I mean, the house he owns is just property, he's renting it out. It's a rental property for him.
Oh, wow.
So the field.
So he owns the field, but not.
He owns the field and the house up there is a rental property for him, they're all tied together.
So he doesn't operate his business out of that house?
No.
So that sign's not within 1,000 feet of his business?
Right.
Okay.
We'll look into it.
Check the DOT.
I don't wanna see a lot more of those coming in and invading us in the way that one was put up.
Well, go for all of them. If you go for one sign, go for all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Great, great. I'd love to take that ordinance back to the town. Well, I'd love it to pass, but I wouldn't want to take it back. Have that shot down. You know?
What was the reason, Joe, they started?
There was a lot of argument back and forth and this and that, and you're gonna tell me what to do, and, you know.
Popular argument these days.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
That's it?
that's it for me.
You got anything over there, Robin? No? You get a voice too, you know.
She's just been in there a few days, give her some time.
I know.
I'm a little shell shocked right now.
Yeah, still trying to learn the ropes.
Doing good.
You did. You got anything, Bob? I'm all set.
And move we adjourn.
I second it. We're adjourned.